Hello, Facebook. Welcome to Tuesday. For the rest of you who are in quarantine still or isolating, I don't even know how many days this is, but it is currently April 14th. So here we are once more at a Witch on Fireside chat. I should probably put this up here so you can see our fireside. It's been a rather slow working Tuesday for me here, and I'm just getting ready to open up the store for curbside and pickup tomorrow. Hello, Melissa. So yeah, tomorrow, starting Wednesday the 15th through the end of the month, the Sojourner will be keeping some reduced hours of Wednesday through Saturday, noon till 6, to offer phone call orders, or you could order by email, and then we can either do a curbside pickup or we could potentially put it in a USPS priority mailbox and send it to you. But we'll be taking care of that via email and phone call starting Wednesday, starting tomorrow. That should get us through the end of the month when the state shelter-in-place order ends, theoretically, unless they extend it. I have a feeling it's going to end up extending into May some. But one way or the other, we'll continue with that. And then if ever that is loosened, we'll go back to being able to open the the retail floor for less than 5 people at a time. Right now, the state has this formula based on your square footage and your fire occupancy, where if we were an essential business, we could have 5 people or less in the store at a time right now, probably. But anyway, we'll move to that later when that seems advisable into May. In the meantime, if you were on our Facebook page today, the Clubhouse especially, we have some sort of order cheat sheets. Courtney put together a list of some of our most purchased items that might be needed right now, like crystals and candles and teas and oils and that sort of thing, with their prices. If you were on the Sojourner Clubhouse group today, those were posted there, and I'm working on a newsletter where we can send them by PDF. Hopefully I'll get that out tonight. That should make it easier to just see what we have. You could then either make yourself a list based on that, or send us an email or something. We'll work it out. We'll work with you. Hello, everybody. It's so nice to see everyone's name popping through. Hey, Rob. Hey, Ben. So I'll be honest with you. Today, I had a very hard time even coming up with what I wanted to talk about tonight. I did end up deciding to do a money pot discussion because it's one of my favorite spells, and it was one of the things on my altar that I hadn't talked about yet. But before I do that, Alan asked a question, because I've always posed the question on the event during the day, like what questions should I answer? So I had a question about regarding pagan parenting and potentially books for pagan children. And hi, Jennifer. Hey, Diane. Diane, DJ, Mama Cat. Nice to see you all. So, pagan parenting children's books. I just combed my shelves over looking for my favorite all-time book for pagan children, and I can't find my copy anywhere, which really upsets me. But it's not hard to find online, I don't think. The author's name is Miles Batty. I just mentioned him again. I believe I mentioned him in my last video for his book Teaching Witchcraft. Another book of his is called The Green Prince's Father, and it is a beautiful little book. It's a little chapter book written at about young adult children, about the same reading level as maybe a Harry Potter. It is The Green Prince's Father is a story of the green god of the wood and the maiden goddess in the Wiccan mythology of the Wheel of the Year. And there's a Sabbath. Each chapter is a Sabbath, and it's written from the point of view of the young god who is, returns to the wild wood at Immel and starts to awaken. And then the journey he and the maiden go together, becoming the mother and the father and the wise crone and sage, until at last the year dies away and he is reborn again. And so it's a beautiful story. When my kids were small, we would read a chapter a night, like a story, and we went through it several times. But every time we get to the end, I end up crying like a baby myself. So if you're a pagan parent and you'd like to read a beautiful story to illustrate the Wiccan mythos of the Wheel of the Year from the point of view of the young god of nature and the timeless goddess, his wife, his mother, and even the complexities of that story are beautifully handled. Another thing I wanted to recommend, if you're a parent of young children, or if anybody wants to learn their mythology, I only found one of the versions I had, but when my kids were small, my children loved to read mythology. And I started to pick these up at Barnes & Noble. This is the National Geographic, has a series called Treasury of, insert culture here, mythology. And they're also written like children's stories. The reason why I like the series, and any of them, if they are illustrated by Christina Baylett. I have loved Christina Baylett's illustrations. And I like the way that the stories, I mean, there's various authors of the actual mythology, but for example, here's the art on Hermes. And these are really good for just sharing the mythologies. And in a way that both parents and children alike can appreciate. I especially recommend, and I know this is going to sound odd, I wrote a whole blog on this because I gave several of these books to my children, and we decided to do the 12 days of Yule, which means we started ahead of Christmas. We started at the winter solstice, and then we worked our way through the holiday season. And I gave them several books, and then we could read them together at night. And of the ones that I gave them, illustrated by Christina Baylett, B-A-L-I-T, was the National Geographic Illustrated Bible. And I know that seems an unusual thing to suggest for pagan parents to share with their children, but it is one of the mythologies of the world. And it is also something that if you're not aware of those stories and metaphors and whatnot, that you're not going to be very culturally literate in this society, because that is the dominant religion, and I don't want to leave it out either. So I try to include the mythological tales of any culture that has bearing here in our society, and of course the Bible does too. And I thanked Christina Baylett for the beautiful illustrations in that one also. But there's Greek, there's Norse, there's Egyptian, so I really appreciate the Nat Geo mythology series, and I got them all at Barnes & Noble. So those are some of my recommendations. The other book that I really love for pagan parents who are raising children in an earth-centered spirituality, and I wish I had the book. I loaned it to a mother a long time ago, and it never made its way back. But we like the Celebrating the Great Mother is a book for pagan parents called, and it's by Kate Johnson and Maura Shaw, and they have some nice crafts and other activities to do with pagan children that I've always loved. And so we even include some of their descriptions of the Sabbaths in each of our traditions Sabbath lessons. So between The Green Prince's Father by Miles Batty, the Nat Geo Mythology, love it, and Celebrating the Great Mother by Kate Johnson and Maura Shaw, those would be some of my go-to books. Other than that, I educated my children on scientific theories of the nature of evolution and the Big Bang Theory, and how nature trades energy from the sun through plants, through animals, that sort of thing. There were several interesting books that I liked. That I'll get one more just to show a cover. This one right here was a fun one on that. It's called Pass the Energy, Please. It's by Barbara Shaw McKinney, and it's illustrated by Chad Wallace. This was a gift from a friend. And it's just talking about how we live within an interconnected web of existence where all the creatures absorb energy from the sun, and how we share that energy, and how life grows from the compost of death, and that death is part of that cycle, and how we pass our energy one to another in this interconnected web of life. So even though it wasn't meant to be written from a pagan perspective, it did illustrate those for me. So anyway, I'm so happy to see so many people here. And I love it when you guys chat amongst yourselves on the feed. So one of the things that I thought I would, or the thing I plan to talk about tonight, like I said, it was one of the last things on my altar I hadn't discussed already. And it's a spell that I got from going to a workshop with Orion Foxwood. And so I'm going to give him props for this idea. It's an old hoodoo southern conjure idea. It's called a money pot. Money pot, money pot. And I saw that DJ Mama Cat was on the feed, and I know that she even helped contribute to my money pot up here. So I'm going to give her a shout out too. So this is my money pot. It's a bit of spell working, a lot like a poppet, in that you're creating a vessel, and then that vessel has a number of players that go into it, that are called into it to be sort of your magical team. And in this case, a money pot brings financial wealth and abundance. And so I had written a blog about this years ago, and it ends up being one of my more popular ones. I printed off a copy so I could remember. But it's I think it's just some really good old magic. Everything about, Jenny's got her money pot too. Well, I'm just going to give some of the tips and tricks of that, give a little tour, and then also some ideas on how to get one started, because it's something anybody can do, and it's mostly of things around the house. So a money pot, like I said, is meant to bring physical resources. So we're talking a very pentacles. Yeah, DJ's got hers too. Orion Foxwood. Yes, it was Jenny. That was from Orion Foxwood. He came and did some workshops here. A couple of, this has probably been many, many years ago now. I can't even remember. Can one of y'all remember what year that was? Was it 2014? 13? It was a long time ago. I do remember that Miss DJ is the one that gave me this fabric. So here's a fun thing. Money pot. Easy old magic. Good conjure, southern conjure stuff. But everything about this tracks with planetary magic too. So I want to deconstruct mine a little bit here for you. Revealing. There's many types of money in mine. Weird monies. I did mine in a tin can. Tin can's good old stuff, right from the recycling bin. Tin is associated with Jupiter, the planetary Jupiter. It brings luck and success. It aids in divination and justice. Tin cans are normally in non-acidic vegetables is where you can get a tin can. Or you can use copper, a copper vessel. I happen to have this. This is for Moscow Mules. It's just a copper mug. But if you've got any copper bowl from an antique store or that kind of thing, you can use that too. So I got this. I thought I might demonstrate how one sets it up in a minute. But I also decorated mine, and DJ's the one, I believe, that provided this fabric. See, it's got money printed on it. And that's in sympathy with what I wanted. This is, we're talking literally money pot is like, I need money and resources to come to me. I need to be unusual money, not the regular money. Oh my gosh, 2012. Thank you for the person who posted that. It was a long time ago. So I've been working this one for years, and I have noticed that on the days that I come and tend to it properly, which isn't every day, but pretty regularly I go and tend to it, add a little bit more Florida water fed to it, and I say my little chant, inevitably something is just a little more lucrative that day in a way I didn't anticipate. So I gotta say it works. So tin can, since DJ gave me the square fabric, I put around. I've also got some of that stretchy silver string. I just keep it there on mine. In the past, I've had little charms of pentacles and that thing hanging on it. One time I needed an extra bit of pentacle juju, and so the pentacle charm that I'd had hanging from my money pot for years, I actually took it back off, good and charged for its purpose, and I added it to another spell. So that was good. We'll get to this is all unusual money, mind you. Things that are very magical. $2 bills. You ever get a $2 bill, hold on to that from money magic. I got several of them in there. That's unusual money. Also, I've got some money from Singapore and Philippines. Whenever I get unusual money, I keep that for my money pot. Okay, we'll tuck it back in here. Okay, so money pots. Like I said, it can be a tin can. That's associated with Jupiter, which is all things expansion and money and abundance. Or it can be a copper vessel, and that copper vessel will come from an antique store if you like. It can be any little copper bowl is what I'm trying to say. Copper brings, is Venus. You know I'm a Venus girl. Copper brings luck, love, money, and healing. It's the metal of Venus. And like I said, antique stores are a great place to find that. But if you happen to find a Moscow Mule mug, then you can certainly use that as well. Just make sure that it'll hold about 12 ounces of material at least, and it won't leak. Copper is a natural conductor of energy, and we found that the addition of copper to any spell will boost its potency. So if you've ever been out or seen in a spell book where someone's added a copper penny to a spell, then that means that they're adding some of the Venus luck. So let's see. Next thing we're going to need. Well, there's some main ingredients. I'm going to go through them one little bit by little bit, and then we're going to deconstruct. So you've got either your tin can or you've got your copper cup. You're going to need a little hyssop oil. Got some hyssop oil here. That brings protection and purification. You're going to need some sort of incense. Here, I'll go ahead and light my incense with a good resin to make lots of good smoke, something that's good for purifying. You're going to need some hunting money. Everybody keeps talking about that, people who've done this before. Hunting money is money you find. Now, you're walking down the sidewalk, for example, and you see a quarter. That's hunting money that's found you. When you see some money on the ground, so you're going to want to keep an eye out. It could be a $20 bill, don't get me wrong, but let's say you see some money on the ground. We'll borrow one of these. And you see it on the ground. And if it's heads up, that's lucky. It's found you. You just say, hunt money, you found me. Pick it up, put it in your pocket. If it's tails up, that's not considered lucky to pick that up. And so you, hello Sabrina. So, if you find money on the ground that's heads up, or tails up, pardon me, it's called laying tracks. You flip it towards you 3 times, saying, hunting money, hunting money, hunting money. Now it's heads up, and you go, you found me, and you put it in your pocket. But you got to take that money home, and you got to put it in your money pot. So you're going to need to find some hunting money first. Make sure that it's come to you heads up, and then save it for your money pot. Okay, so you need something from air, a smudge bundle, for example. Sage is what was recommended originally. I think any of the purifying herbs will do. You'll also need a small piece of paper that has the seal of Jupiter on it. On one side, that's the seal of Jupiter, and your signature on the other. I'm going to need me a pair of scissors or something. I'll just tear it out of here. So it's recommended in conjure and hoodoo work. What's traditional is just brown craft paper, like from a garbage bag. Doesn't have to be fancy. I believe in the original blog I suggested tracing the bottom of the can and making a perfect circle, but honestly, this is simple magic. It doesn't have to be all that. Okay, so there's my seal of Jupiter on one side. I'm going to write my own name on the back. You gotta claim these things for yourself. In this case, I'm going to do it with my magical signature for me. I take my vessel and I purify it. I have to clean it out. Who knows what energies are on this? So I purify you, copper vessel, by the powers of air. Powers of air purify anything that does not serve our highest good. Blessed be. Also by fire. Powers of fire purify and bless this vessel of anything that would not serve my highest good. Blessed be. Same thing with the charged waters. Remember our water bowl? Let's see. Pour a little bit in. Powers of water, purify. bless this vessel, all that it may do be for the highest good of all involved, harming none. Blessed be. Same thing with salt. Putting a little bit of my altar salt in there. Powers of salt, ground free anything that does not serve this money pot. And my wealth and abundance, so mote it be. So now I have my vessel. I can dry that out the rest of the way if I like. For now, we'll leave it as it is. A little bit in there, it's just a bit. And a little bit of salt, no problem there. I take my seal of Jupiter with my signature on it. And I put that in the bottom, hold on, I'll put that in the bottom of my money pot. Okay, that's ready for me. Also going to need a tag lock, just like with our poppet. Remember, like I said, it could be a bit of hair, it could be anything. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'll do this a little bit differently this time. But you definitely want to put something of you in it. And I like to put it on my paper. So remember I said last time that any bit of yourself, and that's any of your fluids, your blood, your toenails, your hair, something with DNA. In this case, I'm going to take from the inside of my cheek a little bit of my spit. I don't know, don't be grossed out. It isn't witchcraft unless it gets a little dirty. Anyway, here we go. All right, I'm going to draw the seal of Jupiter over my own name with my finger. Tag to me for Harry Michelle. Money pot, money pot. Okay. So, after you've purified the vessel, we're also going to anoint the interior with the hyssop oil in a clockwise fashion. Call on the powers of fire also to purify and empower this work, because hyssop is another liquid fire. It seals the vessel. So clockwise. Powers of hyssop and of fire. Seal this vessel from all baneful outside influence. Blessed be. Okay. I claim this as my own. We'll tap the metal 3 times with a quick 2 fast, 1 slow knock. This is what I learned from Orion. So, awake, awake, awaken to your power. I set you, seal of Jupiter. I set this to the work for myself. This is my money pot. Through this vessel I grow and retain wealth, abundance, and prosperity on all levels. Resources are attained. My needs are met and I thrive. By Jupiter, my resources are generously gained. By Venus, my resources may be generously shared for the highest good of all involved, harming none. Now I'm going to fill the pot. So when you add to the pot, you've got to fill it with each of the ingredients. You've got to awaken them to their power. So first thing I'm going to do is add 9 different kinds of beans. 9 is important. You'll see in here I've got all kinds. Let's see. Whoop. There's my lodestone. There's all kinds of hunting money in there. Ooh, random leaf. Random stones. Ooh, green aventurine, another good luck thing I've added. All my random found money. If you're not using a copper vessel, you want to at least have some copper pennies. That's the Venus there. Let's see. Oh, I can just pour this out, I guess. See how I've got all those different beans in there? Dried beans from the store. If you can go get a 9-bean soup, all the better. This is left over from the last time that I did one. And it's just a big old mishmash of dried beans. You don't have to have a terrible lot of all of them. You just have to have at least 9. So remember, the 9 different types of beans or legumes. 9 is that number that's often used in hoodoo. It's used for spells, for timing, for number of ingredients. In Mojo Hands, for example, there should always be 9 materials. I also got that from around Foxwood. Odd numbers are a lucky thing. Multiples of 3, very powerful. These beans are also seeds. They contain the information and power to grow and expand into vastly more sustenance than merely eating one bean could do. So we are planting these mini beans in our pot for their potential to grow into much more. Like I said, often you can get a bag of 9 bean soup. If you don't have 9, grab a 6 bean soup or whatever they've got, and then grab you some extras from the extra bags. All right, I'm going to seed a little bit from one pot to the other. My thought was I was going to bring this pot to the store and let this continue to feed us there. So I'm going to just seed one pot to the next. Okay. All right. Now I've got it about 3/4 of the way full. I want a little more. Okay. Any dried pea and legume will do. All right. Ta-da. Okay. So I'm going to awaken these beans, blow over them, and then ask them to remember their powers. So knock, knock, knock. Awaken, awaken, awaken beans, and remember your powers of growth and expansion and deliciousness and abundance. Be with me. Awaken to your powers of growth and sustenance. Now the next thing you're going to need is a lodestone. A lodestone is a natural magnet. If you don't happen to have a lodestone around and need to just sort of witch hack this, if you have a magnet, use that. But a lodestone is magnetite. It's been naturally magnetized and it can attract iron. It's believed to have been in proximity to lightning bolt strikes, which is why it's magnetized. They're used to draw more wealth to its keeper. They're first used in compasses too, so they can also bring a power of guidance and direction to any working. So, awake, awake, awaken to your powers of magnetism, attraction, and guidance. Put that in there. Next, we're going to need a High John the Conqueror root. Where is my High John? I know it's in here somewhere. I didn't have another one here at home for this demonstration. I haven't been to the store in days. All right, well, let's just imagine that I have a High John. So they're the most valuable of the 3 Johns or roots in hoodoo practice. They're from the, I'm going to get this wrong with the Latin, Ipomea jalapa plant. It's basically a morning glory. And the whole root is used in magic to remove obstacles, draw wealth. It brings luck to games of chance. It has increased potency, power, and personal sovereignty. So we'd awaken our High John. We're imagining that I have one. And we awaken it to its powers of luck, money, and potency. And we would add the High John. And then we add our hunting money. In this case, I'm going to add some of this that I've been collecting. I've got weird money in here, especially if you ever get like a Canadian coin by accident, or you get some foreign coin from a trip. I've even got in here some Chinese good luck coins. You know, the little talismans. We sell these at the counter of the store. So I'm going to take some of that. Tap over it. Awake, awake, awaken, and remember your powers of luck, money, and potency. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the wrong line. Awake, awake, and remember your power. Go hunting for some more money for me. All right, add that. I'm going to add some more of this here. I've also got some other good luck things I collect over the years. You can add anything you want to your money pot. I've got a cowrie shell. That's lucky. I've had some green aventurine. Put that in there too. Here, we'll add this back to here. Okay. Alrighty, so charge in the pot. Here, let's put some things together here. Alrighty. Alright, so after I got all these things assembled, remember, it's mostly the beans, the lodestone, the High John the Conqueror root, 9 beans after you prepared your vessel. So one of the nice charms I got from Orion Foxwood was this. Thrice I knock on the dark one's door, and all things were as they were before. By earth and water, wind and flame, bring magic in the old one's name. And this is a trick. Definitely a good trick from Orion, and I have used this in all kinds of spell work, including Mojo Hands is where I learned it from him, was for Mojo Hands, not necessarily the money pot, but the sulfur and the burning of the wooden match. I love doing this. So I'll strike it, and then I'll jam it into the pot, and that extinguishes, but it's kind of like, on Frankenstein when he throws the switch and Dr. Frankenstein throws the switch and he electrifies his creation and it brings it to life. To me, this brings it to life. So awaken into life, spark into life, and draw more money to me, more abundance and more prosperity. Okay, so then, now that it's alive, you got to feed it. You have this money pot. I also do all sorts of charging and that kind of thing to awaken and charge up a money pot the first time that I use it. So you can chant over it. You can do anything you can think to bring it to life. But you add that hunting money, and it's unusual money, and it'll bring more of that to you. It attracts it. This is my Florida water, one more time, from Matthew Venus. And I always feed my money pot. So I'll feed both today. And this is how I normally do it. I say, money pot, come to me, wealth and prosperity, as I will. So mote it be. Money pot, come to me, wealth and prosperity, as I will. So mote it be. So that's a money pot. So many different ways to do it. Just remember, though, that you got to be careful what you ask for with the universe and spell work, especially when it comes to abundance, because the universe has a wicked sense of humor. I like to always add the caveat to any spell that I'm doing. May this work be for the highest good of all involved, harming none. I say that because the last thing you need when asking for money, hey Heather, from the cosmos, is to not say how you're going to get this money. Because if you just say, let's say you need the rent paid. Now, I'm going to give this as a real example. Because, we've all been in struggle here, right? With the pandemic and everything closing, and me trying to figure out how to make the money that I had, in arrears, how am I going to stretch that out? And I don't know, is this going to take 1 month to get through this pandemic, or is it going to take 3 months or 6 months? What are we going to do? And so you just start looking for options. Of course, I'm over here at my money pot like, hey, I need some help figuring out how we're going to pay the bills. And because I always use this example, I was careful not to limit, to just say I need money. What I need is my way in the world. I need the resources to get by. So one of the things they say is, let's say you need the rent money, and let's say that's $500. I don't know what cosmos the rent would be $500, but let's just say that is what it is. And rather than say, all right, magical universe, I need $500, instead say, I need my resources. I need the resources to survive, or I need my physical needs met, or I need for my bills to be covered, or something along those lines. And then for all you know, your landlord might call you up and say, hey, I'm running a special this month. If you renew your lease, I'll give you a free month, or something like that. But if you just say I need $500 with no caveats, you very well could get hit by a taxi or something in the street, and sure, you're going to get a settlement, but did you really need all that pain? Be very careful what you ask for. That's right, Heather's chiming in. Be careful what you ask for. Yeah, if you have 2 car accidents in 6 months, you might get a payout, but do you really want to do it that way? So I always suggest the caveat. In this case, and I have some good news, When I knew I didn't know how to pay the rent, or I had the money, let's just put it that way, but if I had paid the rent in full, that would have taken all the money in reserves, and I have so many bills to pay. So I wrote my landlords. These have been my landlords for 11 years, and they're great. But I've paid that rent on time, like clockwork, before I paid myself, before I paid anybody, for years. And so I wrote them, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. Can we negotiate? Is there any flexibility? I don't want to hurt you, but I don't, but maybe there's something we can do that will keep me from having to close my doors entirely and then leave you without a tenant. And they said, we understand, we've got a lot of expenses too. We'll think about it. They got back to me not long ago and said, and mind you, this is after many times that the money pot come to me, help me get my bills paid, help us see our way through. They just called and said, or they wrote me and said, don't worry, we're going to waive the rent for 3 months. So we're working on, all these loans and things that could potentially help us pay the payroll. Hopefully that'll come. And or there's a disaster relief money, but it's not nearly what you'd expect it to be. And in this case, us not having to pay the rent for 3 whole months. Now, mind you, they also negotiated that once things get back on our feet, they wanted to give us some time to figure, get back on our feet, get back in the flow. And we don't have to come back to that until July. But then once we get to January next year, if everything's okay, we negotiated to raise the rent just a little bit to make up for some expenses that they had previous, the taxes just went up and they were already trying to figure out how to pay the taxes. So, isn't that great news? Magic! Yay! Spirit will provide. Another thing I'll give as an example, and this is just a story, and it has nothing to do with money pots, but it's a way of thinking about your needs more than just money. What you have is, we all have physical needs. We need the resources to survive. Sure, money buys them, but it doesn't always have to be that. One time, years ago, when the store was really tight, we were just coming to one of those times when I didn't know if it was worth staying open anymore. Like, as a business person, I should have already closed the doors. We knew that. But I'm prideful, and this is a sacred mission to me. It's my life work. I didn't want to just close the doors because it's not particularly profitable right now. And I already wasn't paying myself. But how do I pay the staff? How do I keep going? And I didn't know how to keep doing that. And it got to the point where I was having a really hard time even buying the food I wanted for the week to feed the children, because there had been some unexpected other expenses. Life expenses creep up. And I've been very particular about what I feed my family. It's not to say that we're starving, mind you, but I have had some standards I wanted to keep up. I wanted my children to have the healthy things I wanted them to have. And I got mad with the cosmos one day. I'm standing at my altar and I'm all sassy, being salty with the cosmos. All right, spirit, goddess, I'm here doing the work you want me to do. There was a promise here that if I did the work I was supposed to do and put my life on the line and all my money on the line, and I gave it all up for this, that my needs would be provided for. And I've got standards. By God, my children are going to eat delicious food and good for them food. I want organic vegetables, goddammit. I don't want to have a bunch of, beanie weenies every day. I'm either going to be able to afford the good stuff or I'm out. And mind you, that was me being salty because I just had standards, I guess. I don't know. Mind you, we've been doing okay, but every week on Wednesday, this is during the summer, there's the umbrella market downtown. And I like to take my kids to the umbrella market. It was our big thing. And I'd usually have a $20 bill, and I could give them each $10, and they could choose to buy some bread from the baker. We could buy the fresh fruit from the local produce stand or that kind of thing. And there was always live music, and we'd have a good time. But that's where we'd buy our produce for the week. Peaches and strawberries and things from local farmers. And not having any money, it's kind of hard to go out there and explain to your kids why they can't have anything that week. So I'd been in this habit of every week on Wednesday, I'd go looking around my house and I'd find something I don't particularly need anymore. And I would go to a pawn shop and I'd pawn it. Or I'd go to the Play It Again Sports and get some money or whatever. it got to the point where I was just looking for about $20-$30 worth of something to pawn every week. And so I was running out of stuff, and when I had this conversation with them, I'm like, that's it. If I can't have organic vegetables for the children, then by God, we're not going to do this anymore. I'm going to close. That very day, after having tended the money pot with that prayer, we go out to the umbrella market. I used the last $20 I had. I think that's the day that I pawned the rollerblades that I had had since the 90s and did not need down at Play It Again. And I go and I'm chatting up with one of the organic farmers who wasn't really selling their stuff so much as they were selling the CSAs. You know, they had boxes put together of example produce. And we were chatting, and she discovered that I own the Sojourner, and she was talking about how much she loves the store. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, I'm so grateful, you know, that you're there. And I'm like, thank you very much. And at the end of the umbrella market, she comes to me and she says, hey, do you eat a lot of vegetables? Do you do any cooking or canning or anything? And I'm like, sure, I can do that. She says, well, we've got all these coolers full of example organic food that have been sitting out here in the sun, and they're just a little past where we can sell them to other people. But if you don't mind pulling off a few leaves or cutting off a bruised spot here or there, and maybe you do some canning or freezing, then I hate for this to go to waste. And because I love the Sojourner so much, I'd really love it if you took home these organic vegetables and you put them to good use as my thank you to you. I'm pretty sure I cried. Right to that lady. But I took home a giant cooler worth of beautiful organic vegetables that sure, I don't mind cutting off a bruise or pulling off a wilted leaf. I'm not that proud. And that's just how the magic works for me. But you got to leave it open and the universe will provide. So yeah, I didn't get a big paycheck that week. I said I needed to be able to have the food we needed, and the universe provided the food we needed. So just a thought on how you consider resources, right? All right, well, it's already been a whole 47 minutes almost. Can you believe it? I went totally over last week. So just a reminder, for a money pot, it can be a tin can. If you happen to have something copper around, that brings one or the other. You want to have some tin and some copper in there. You want to be able to call both Jupiter and Venus. Then you tend it every day. Money pot, come to me. Wealth and prosperity, as I will, so mote it be. And then you feed it. If Florida water isn't something you have, by the way, I'll just give you one last pitch for Florida water. This is the one that I get made by Matthew Venus at Spiritus Arcanum. We also sell Florida water at the shop. But let me just tell you what that is. Hold on. All right. I'm sure I saw it in there. Well, what Florida water is this alcohol. Oh, here we go. It's a cologne, an alcohol-based cologne. And it is, it's either a distillation from the fruits and the flowers of bergamot, neroli, lavender, clove, cinnamon, rose, and orange flower. Everybody's got their own recipe for Florida water, but some beautiful flowers and other, botanicals go into Florida water. And it's already an alcohol extract. It smells great. It's great for purification. I know Jupiter always recommends just leaving a little bowl of Florida water in the house as a means to sort of, just make it feel clean and spiritually blessed and so forth. Putting it in a spritzer and spritzing it around is great. But every time I feed my money pot, I also get the benefit of getting to smell that in the house. So that's a money pot. It's a way of focusing your intent on abundance in the house. And I'll just leave you with these last words about the concept of abundance. And that is linked with the concept of generosity. If you keep a heart that is open and generous, if you are generous with your own resources and your time and your love and your money and whatever ways that you can, just think about resources as more than just money is what I'm saying. And you're very open and generous in giving. The hand that is open from the giving generously is opened for the receiving generously. Same thing goes for the heart. The heart that is opened from the giving of love is the same heart that is open to receive love. And that's been my lesson from Venus all along. So abundance and generosity go hand in hand. And I'll leave you with these words from the Wiccan read. Live and let live. Fairly take and fairly give. So the key to thriving is generosity of both spirit and resources. And so as you grow in abundance, the trick is to continue being openly generous, and then that will continue to bring more back to you. Don't be a Scrooge. That's no good. Well, I can't believe it, but it's already been 50 minutes, and I've been so bad about going over. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. It's been such a pleasure. If you hadn't already seen it, I have been uploading these videos after I do them also to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is creatively called Heron Michelle, and that keeps them up there. If you can make a donation via PayPal to help out the store, we surely would appreciate that. Even with the loans and without the rent, let's just say we've made 1/20th this month that we normally do. So we certainly would appreciate it if you can PayPal to orders@thesojo.com. Remember, if you're local and you have, and I know that, I will put it on your account. Whether you wanted me to or not, you now have that money on your account. And next time you're in the store, you can just give us your name, and we'll just take that deposit and put it on your purchase. Also, remember that, and you do that at PayPal at orders@thesojo.com, which is in the description. Also, if you're still looking for any Sojo swag, our teespring.com store is called The Sojourner Tees, and there's some cool shirts and things there. Remember, anyone who makes a donation at any time during all this, I put your name in my Fireside Chats drawing box, and at the end of April, when this is all done and things start to get back to normal, I'm gonna do some, at the end of the 13th video, I should say. Let's assume things will be back to more of a normal then. I'll do some drawings for some of the charged waters and incenses and things that I make. So thank you, everyone, for that. And remember, starting tomorrow, Wednesday the 15th, we will be open for phone-in orders and curbside pickup, or if we can fit it in a priority mailbox for USPS, which is another way we're going to help USPS, our postal service, to survive in these strange times. We're going to put some money to the good people at the post office. If we can put it in a priority box, we'll send it to you. There may be some limitations there, but we'll see. So yeah, and you'll catch me at the store tomorrow on Wednesday. Otherwise, we'll be there Wednesday through Saturday to the end of the month. And whenever the state lifts the shelter in place, we'll go back to serving less than 5 customers in shop at a time on those same hours. So thank you, everyone. Namaste. Away at a safe distance. Everyone be well.